Okay, let's start this explainer with a hard truth. The real world, it simply doesn't play fair. No matter how honest you are, someone might betray you. No matter how skilled you become, someone way less qualified might try to snatch your spot. That's just reality. But the people who truly understand this reality, they don't just survive it, they thrive in it. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating strategic toolkit from our source material that's designed to protect you in a complex world. We are going to learn how to defend yourself, build immense influence, and stop being so emotionally reactive. And we're going to do it all without ever becoming the villain. Okay, let's dive right into this. We are breaking this survival guide down into a 5-part masterclass. What is dark intelligence, the power of concealment, strategic communication, the unshackled mindset, and mastering the final outcome? Part 1, what is dark intelligence? It's basically the ultimate defensive strategy for the real world. Now, what's really interesting about this is the core definition itself. Dark intelligence is a strategic intelligence born from adversity. It is entirely focused on observation, calculation, and protection instead of emotional reactivity. It's a shield, right? Not a sword. While other people are busy arguing, you're gathering information. While they're drowning in their emotions, you are planning for the future. The source makes it crystal clear. This knowledge is for protection, not destruction. You use it to understand the game, not to go out and hurt innocent people. And that protective instinct brings us to part 2, the power of concealment and controlling information to build influence. To really anchor this concept of calculated opacity, we have to look at this classic quote from Niccolò Machiavelli. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Just think about the most intriguing people you know. They never tell you everything, do they? They always leave strategic gaps in their stories. That is calculated opacity in action, and it invites immense curiosity and respect from the people around you. Look at the contrast here. On one hand, you have naive, total transparency, which basically makes you entirely predictable. It forgets that information is actually currency. But on the other hand, strategic, calculated opacity maintains your complete control over the narrative. The source gives a brilliantly simple example of this. If someone casually asks about your weekend plans, average transparency says, "Oh, I'm just staying home, maybe watching some movies." I mean, it's honest, but it's totally forgettable. But calculated opacity might say, "I have something important to take care of," and then naturally change the subject. It's not a lie, but notice the difference. That second answer makes you mysterious. It makes you interesting. It reminds you that your information is currency, so don't go spending it all at once. And this brilliantly illustrates how you actually practice this through controlled exposure. You want to reveal your skills gradually over time. Seriously, don't show off everything you can do in the very first week of a new job. You share personal details only as trust is genuinely earned. You withhold your constraints when you're in a negotiation. By holding back just a little bit, you create what's called a curiosity gap. The human brain naturally tries to fill in incomplete information, right? Which means people will actually pay much closer attention to what you do choose to share. So, moving on to part 3, strategic communication. This is where we shift from withholding information to actively adapting, echoing, and using silence. To really communicate strategically, you need to adopt an adaptive persona. You shouldn't be the exact same person with everyone you meet, and honestly, that's a good thing. If you're speaking to someone highly analytical, you provide facts and data. If they're emotional, you connect with their feelings. Practical? Show them exactly how it works. Big picture? Paint the ultimate vision for them. People often mistake this for being fake or manipulative, but it isn't. It's communication intelligence. Think about water. It takes the shape of whatever container you pour it into, but it never loses its core properties of being water. You are just adapting your presentation to the listener so they can actually absorb what you're saying. Next up is the concept of silent leverage. Most people think power is loud. They think it's raising your voice or dominating the room, but real power whispers. Try this exact sequence the next time you're asked a difficult question. First, pause instead of answering immediately. Second, look at them thoughtfully. Third, just let the silence stretch. Let it change the dynamic. Most people inherently hate silence, and they will nervously rush to fill it, often revealing way more information than they ever intended. Embracing that uncomfortable silence gives you quiet, immense power in literally any conversation. And then, when you do finally speak, you use what's called the psychological echo. Subconsciously, every single person you meet is asking you 3 silent questions. Do you see me? Do you understand me? Do you value me? Psychological echo means listening not just so you can respond, but to actually understand the fear or the need behind someone's words, and then reflecting that back to them. Let's say someone complains about hating their job. Don't just immediately give them advice. Instead, say, It sounds like you're not feeling valued for your contributions. By silently answering those 3 underlying questions, you literally transform an everyday interaction into deep, undeniable trust. All right, shifting gears a bit for part 4, the unshackled mindset. We're looking at detachment and navigating gray area ethics. We are actually returning to Machiavelli here for a pretty stark principle. Since love and fear can hardly exist together, it is far safer to be feared than loved. The source uses this intense quote to introduce the principle of detachment. See, the fear of loss makes people incredibly weak. If you are terrified of losing someone's approval, you're going to say whatever they want to hear. But freedom from that fear, that is what makes you powerful. What you are not afraid to lose simply cannot control you. The difference between these 2 states of mind is literally night and day. You have the attached mindset, which desperately needs approval and is entirely driven by the fear of loss. On the flip side, the detached mindset cares without being controlled. They are entirely willing to walk away. Just imagine a high-stakes business negotiation. Person A desperately needs the deal to go through. Person B wants the deal, sure, but they have other options and are perfectly content to walk away if it's not right. Who holds the actual power in that room? Person B, of course. Detachment gives you the absolute clarity to negotiate from a position of real strength. So the crucial point is how this mindset completely shifts your approach to ethics into what the source calls ambiguous morality. This is all about focusing on pragmatic outcomes, rather than just keeping up the surface-level appearance of being nice. Look, pure moral clarity is a total luxury in complex situations. Sometimes being nice actually enables terrible behavior. Think about a manager dealing with a truly toxic, lying employee. The nice thing might be to give them endless second chances. But firing them, which feels incredibly harsh and maybe even mean, is what actually protects the honest team members and the company's clients. It's not cruelty. It's making difficult, pragmatic decisions for the greater good. Now, navigating this gray area safely, that requires a lot of self-awareness. You absolutely must focus on long-term outcomes and accept full responsibility for your difficult choices. But most importantly, you have to establish non-negotiable core boundaries and never ever use this framework for selfish gain. The entire goal here is to be effective and ethical in a really messy world, not to somehow justify harmful behavior just to get what you want. Which brings us to our 5th and final section, mastering the final outcome, where we prioritize real results over our ego. Let's move to this and see how it builds toward one major choice you have to make: ego obsession versus outcome obsession. Ego always wants to win the debate. It desperately wants to prove that it is right. Outcome obsession, however, just wants to be effective. Think about it. If your ultimate goal is to change someone's behavior, aggressively proving them wrong in a shouting match almost always backfires because people just get defensive. An outcome-obsessed person will happily, instantly, drop their need to win the argument if it means they actually achieve the end result they were aiming for. This outcome-focused mindset leads us straight into a concept called strategic laziness. It sounds counterintuitive, right? But outcome-obsessed individuals often look like they are doing less work because they completely ignore unnecessary busy work and petty, ego-driven arguments. Instead, they focus their energy entirely on the 20% of strategic, high-impact work that literally drives 80% of the actual results. They don't care about looking busy, they only care about being effective. And that brings us right to the ultimate goal of everything we've unpacked in this explainer today. The absolute core thesis here is that dark intelligence is not a toolkit for becoming a villain. The ultimate goal is to become someone who simply cannot be manipulated. It's about gaining power over yourself and your circumstances so you can see right through manipulation, fiercely protect yourself, and pragmatically make everyone's life a whole lot better. Because the most valuable person in any room is the one who grasps these strategic depths and applies them ethically. So I am going to leave you with this one provocative question. Which kind of person do you choose to be? Are you going to remain emotionally reactive, or will you choose strategic intelligence? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating framework with me today. Choose wisely, stay strategic, and keep learning.